Hi there. How are you today? Lisa Dowling here with information session about thermography. Start the session by how I got into this work and why. So I had actually 27 years old. My doctor found some lumps and I was around like many others nutrition and mammogram that was precancerous cell diagnosis. I was trying to go away and come back in 6 months. To me, that was an unacceptable diagnosis. I trying to tell precancerous to go away, not worry about it for 6 months. So, being the person who I am, I started doing a little bit of research, and it's actually the time that I got into traditional medicine. I started Chinese medicine for sure, for 6 months. And then I returned to my doctor 6 months later, my follow up test, and my scans completely clear. Fast forward many years. So, first of all, I not ever felt or had any kind of in my breasts ever since then. About that. Fast forward many years later, and I started to hear whispers of medical thermography as an option for having breast for breast cancer screening. And I thought this was a very interesting option because for anyone who's ever had a mammogram, it's uncomfortable to the point of being painful, and also its exposure to radiations. There's definitely downsides to mammogram. And then fast forward years later, and I was working and actually teaching in my traditional Chinese medicine practice in therapy, and I started to see some thermographic imaging that a practitioner was using to demonstrate the effects of cupping therapy. And of course, that got me even more interested. And a long story short, the past few years, I've been facing some personal health issues that took, if not completely, mostly out of my physical practice. And I was looking for a way to continue to serve the public in health using which acquired over 20 years practice, and also obviously continuing my career while recovering. So I started to research to thermography, and here we are today. So this little chat today is designed to give you some information about thermography. So I've got lots of research here, and all the links are provided in slides, and I can also provide those links for you afterwards so that you can also continue your research yourself. So thermography is basically a heat sensing image. So there's a special camera that picks up on heat signals in the body. It is a non-invasive approach to assist the body in early detection of many illnesses. We're going to talk about some of that later on. Most assessment methods use radiation to detect conditions, whether that's a colored dye or a frequency that exposes the body to radiation. For conditions like breast cancer, thyroid issues, dental problems, circulatory problems, thermography uses infrared heat since a camera that produces absolutely zero dangerous side effects. More and more research is being done to demonstrate the connection between dental issues on the same side of the body and breast cancer. These early signs may help individuals take great steps early on towards more serious problems. So although the mammogram is also the industry still is currently covering as the risks part of This is research. Simply, sometimes, again, and sometimes the two vibrate condition risks of sure, sure, and low access breast tissue was positive, which is based on breast tissue risk due to exposure to sugar deprivation, therapy, treatments for the results of being show heat or member as way or saying the here it researched yours summary which showed so mammograms have been different for images as it could be very near conditions. So in this research collection studies here, I get listed here. It says complete screening is found that should be sure carefully conduct this semi review observation studies it's whether defined as those higher stage one stage 8 stage there are before awareness of shooting papers claiming works which rates serious mistake were diagnosed were exposed to the percent cannot so early detection is the way so well having a treatment such as medical thermography performed before or around the age of 50 is very beneficial way to detect any early heat signals to lumps. So mammogram has been banned in Switzerland and is under review in Australia, Netherlands, Denmark, Canada, States. So it's to bear in mind. And again, another article here listed. Medical thermography has been used in the detection of breast cancer, systemic sclerosis, diabetes, infection, thyroid nodules, migraine and headache, neurological issues, and there's so much more. Raynaud's syndrome, heavy metal toxicity, lymphatic problem. The list goes on. So what will thermographic image show? Your thermographic images will show any noticeable heat or cold patterns in the area of the sense. Images of several assessments. First, the images are uploaded into a software that measures the heat patterns from the camera and gives feedback on temperatures and potential concerns. The thermographer then personally interprets the heat signals and reports on the findings. The report is then sent to your thermography technician so that they can make recommendations based on your individual images. If your images are of concern, we collaborate on findings before the recommendation. Thermography has been used as an adjunctive option to a mammogram when clients want to get an impression of their breast tissue without using invasive or radioactive techniques. Thermography will show you heat and cold patterns under the surface of the skin. And in the case of breast thermography, these patterns are relatively predictable pathology pattern based on size, location, presence, on both breasts. Thermography will now give you a diagnosis. Will not, sorry, that's a typo, will not give you a diagnosis of pathology, but the results will indicate whether you should proceed for further assessment. Excuse me. So before I go on here, I will just explain quickly. We need you to schedule a thermography appointment depending on how many scans you receive. You may receive just a breast scan, which would be one scan, or you may be concerned, for example, with some teeth, issues or cluster headaches or something like that in your head, something in your lymphatic system. So you may decide to do cranial, dental thermography and the breast, and also the connection between the same side issues with the dental and breast are showing up. So that would be considered a two scan session, or you can do full body, which will be these two scans, plus the upper body, which is going to show you the upper back, as well as the arms and the hands, and the lower body, which is going to show you the internal organ, the lower back, sacrum, pelvis, hips, legs, and feet. So for those of you who are in a position to be able to afford it, I personally recommend the first set of scans that you do a full body scan, because it allows the thermographer and myself to have a complete picture of your entire body. Because when you only scan one area, for example, you're only seeing the condition of the area. But what I have found is that when doing full body scans, it gives us the ability to look at the entire lymphatic system, the entire circulatory system, all of the internal organs, and create a full body picture of what is on. And in my case, as a traditional medicine practitioner, I'm also going to look at these scans from a meridian perspective. So I can look at it and see if there are any particular meridians that are standing out, which is also a very good way of detecting this before it really starts to manifest in the body. So in that case, you schedule a full, which is 4 sets, which is a total of 32 images. The breast scans are a set, so it's front, oblique, and side view on both sides, so that's 6. And then there's an additional 6 images that are taken after you, 5, 10 images total. So you do a regular set of images after acclimatizing to the room for 15 minutes, and then you do a cold water challenge. So the hands are placed in 10 degrees Celsius water for 90 seconds in order to dilate vessels in the upper body, and then the scans are repeated. So what that does is it shows us how the vascular system is responding to temperature changes, and that just increases the accuracy of the actual test. So if you have any questions about that, please do send me an email and ask them. I'm more than happy to share any information with you. And just a little bit about me. So why nomad thermography? Well, some of you may know me. I have been living in the Madawaska Valley for the last 7 years. I've just moved away from the area recently, served the community for several years. And I would just say that the interpretation of thermographic scans, which is done by a machine and a medical doctor, and sent back to me, I am applying another whole basis of knowledge and understanding of the body onto those scans from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective. But also I have studied movement therapy and a lot of physical medicine, also from the scientific background, has a lot more to do with actual body function. So it gives me the ability to look at the body in terms of the systems, in terms of also the meridian system. So it provides just a little more broad perspective. Also, I have access to a lot of different healthcare practitioners should you need a referral so that you can move forward with the best possible treatment should it be required. The purpose of this is if you do not require a mammogram or if you are not feeling well, but your doctor has not really been able to point what that is, and you're being treated generalized way, but you haven't received any answers, then when we do thermographic scans, we may be able to see exactly and specifically where the problem is in your body so that you have just a little bit more precise information on how to proceed with that. So that is what I'm offering. This is not a diagnosis, it's a treatment. It is really a starting point so that you can start answers that you need in order to live a healthier life. So that is pretty much everything. Like I said, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and I will answer them to the best of my ability. So I thank you very much for your time and hope you enjoyed this call. Bye now.